Hello, everyone. This is David Stark from WatcherPass.com, your website for movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Today, I'm joined by Nita Hanna, who plays Mimi in the all-new film Psycho Goreman. We're going to talk to Nita in just a second, but first, let's check out the trailer. And while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. It helps me out a lot. Thank you.
Many moons ago, a nameless evil was imprisoned in a place far beyond reach.
Hurry up!
If he were ever to be released, it would spell certain doom for all existence.
Is that fear I smell? Your planet will be torn to pieces, and I will
Mimi,
treat your
look!
screams as I rip.
Is this yours?
Oh,
B? Oh my god.
the gem of Paraxidike. Whoever wields it is able to command me.
Go over there and wait for us to come back in the morning.
You will suffer an eternity for this.
Bye!
He's gonna kill everybody.
Not unless I tell him to.
It was nice meeting you.
It would be nicer if you were dead.
All right, bye.
Thank you so much for joining me. This is Nita Hanna, who plays Mimi in Psycho Goreman, or PG. The movie comes out on January 22nd, I believe. Yeah, January 22nd. It's a really interesting film. So I guess the first question is, how did you find this movie? It's such a kind of unique setup for a film.
It is, for sure. My mom had actually found the casting and everything online on Facebook. I think it was put on there by Shannon, and we had checked out Steven's work, and we were really impressed with what we had seen. And so she put my name down. We ended up getting the audition, filming the self-tape. After that, we got a call back asking if we would do like a little Zoom meeting with them and do the audition through there. And then they asked me to go to Toronto and do a live audition. So that's what I did. And a few weeks after that, I got an email asking if I'd still want to play the role of Mimi. And of course, I said yes. I was like super stoked about it. And the only thing was I was always used to doing musical theater, which was like, 25, 50 pages. This was 100 pages, and I was in about 85 of them.
Oh, wow.
So it was a bit different, but I got to work really, really fast. I had about a month to learn my lines, and by the end of that month, I knew my lines. I've always been very quick on my feet to memorize lines. Even to this day, sometimes if I get auditions of like a few pages, I can get them memorized by the next day. So I'm very grateful for that power. But yeah, and this was my first time ever filming in front of a camera. So it was definitely a much more different take on performing instead of a live audience. You had this big camera in front of your face. But no, I really liked filming PG.
It sounds like this movie, allowed you to grow in a lot of areas, which is fantastic. I mean, it's always great to kind of put yourself in areas that you're not used to or uncomfortable situations and try to just manage that and kind of get that experience. So that's really great to hear.
Yeah.
I guess what was it about this movie and Mimi in particular that appealed to you? Other than you just found the role on Facebook and thought it'd be fun.
So after I got the whole script, after I had gotten the part, even doing the self tapes and the audition, I could tell man, Mimi kind of reminds me a bit of myself. Like sometimes I can be like, a bit smart or a bit sassy, and I always
own it. If you got it, just own it.
and always want my way. So I think the reason why people are like, man, like you don't even look like you're acting. Most of the time I wasn't. Steven let me put a lot of my own personality into Mimi. So that's why it seems very real. But I did get to grow a lot. I got to mature a lot. Even from the first day on set to the last day on set, you could see how much I had matured and learned throughout that month, really. It was a very, very big learning lesson.
And this is really cool because, I mean, presumably you filmed this before quarantine, and now it's coming out when everyone's kind of locked down. So like it's something that you can enjoy while you're, quarantining, something your friends can enjoy, but it's also the subject matter is, I don't know what what you and your friends are watching, but it might be a little too violent for I don't know, yourself or them. So, just what has that been like? Do you talk to people about it? Do your friends kind of know that this is coming out, or is this going to be like a big surprise when it comes out?
It's not really something I had talked about a lot with my friends, just because I feel like it can come off as bragging or being it's a bit weird, because my friends are not into, like, they're not actors, they're just normal kids that like to play soccer, and they don't sing or dance, or they do, you know, they do normal little kid stuff and teenager stuff. So I don't feel they're very supportive of what I do, and I really hope they get to see this film eventually. But I don't think it's very it's that bad, just because in the gore section, I think that Steve balanced it really well with comedy. So even when there's a bit of gore, it always follows up with a little bit of comedy and a little bit of, like, dinner table little reels, and like I find it's not really that bad when you, I don't know, when you think about it, really. If you're just watching it, it can be a little intimidating, but I think it balanced it really, really well. And I think young adults can watch it, such as older adults. I think it appeals to a very big range of people.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation. It's there is that comedy aspect which is kind of permeating throughout, and then also you've got violence, but a lot of it happens on. They're not animatronics, but things that are clearly costumes. So I think you can kind of disassociate that easily. And then you're right. There is a huge kind of comedy aspect to it. The scenes, it's such a weird juxtaposition at the start. I'm sure you saw this too. Like the scenes with you and your brother at the very start are like, oh, this is like a family entertainment movie. This is a silly game. And then you're like, oh wait, no, this is a very different movie than I thought it was going to be. And that kind of those two contrasted was just really it's kind of set the tone for the whole movie.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess one of the things I really liked about this is it's a lot of the effects, a lot of the kind of story feels like a throwback to kind of some 80s and 90s Japanese shows. I kind of described it when I talked to Steve yesterday as this feels like maybe like a pixel art kind of a video game, except it's a movie. Like it's kind of a throwback to a different time, but using a lot of modern techniques. So, have you watched any of the older Japanese shows, or are you in any like retro gaming or things like that?
I have not actually. It might be something that I watch in the near future, but I know that a lot of this movie was, they compared it a lot to like E.T. There's like a little bit of Power Ranger in there. I feel like, especially some things that me and Luke do, or Owen. But yeah, it's definitely something that I could possibly see myself watching in the near future.
Yeah, I think you might like it. I mean, it'll look weird, but I think you might see some of the parallels that might be fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure you've got plenty to do. You got plenty of entertainment to take care
Yeah.
of. So speaking of Luke, what was it like? You and Luke were a lot of scenes together. You kind of had this interesting dynamic, maybe a bossy dynamic. What was it like working with Owen? And you probably hadn't worked with him before, but
No, I have never worked with anybody from other than my hometown before. So working with these complete strangers, it was a little nerve-wracking at first, but me and Luke, or Owen, we bonded super well. And I'm saying his name as Luke because throughout the entire month, I called him Luke, he called me Mimi. We did not call each other Nita and Owen at all. Everybody on set would call us Luke and Mimi. We were Luke and Mimi, or Mimi and Luke. And we really bonded very well, even better than I could have ever hoped and imagined. Maybe too good. We would sometimes get into little arguments like brothers and sisters do. But then, we had to like suck it all up, and it was action, and we'd go, and then it'd be cut, and we'd be back mad at each other. But after, like, at the end of the day, we loved each other, and it was a very, very good experience to have for my first film. Not only with Luke, but the whole cast and crew, they're absolutely amazing. Even the PAs, the directors, producers, writers, they were amazing, and they cater to whatever you want.
I love that you're already method acting. Like you get there, this is your brother, he's Luke, and you're developing the siblings. I mean,
Yeah,
but that's a great way to do it, right? That's a
yeah.
great way to kind of establish those bonds.
I think I only realized that I had been method acting after like 2 weeks. So I would go back to my hotel with my mom, and I'd say things. I'd say things that I wouldn't say, that Mimi would say, and phrase things the way that Mimi would phrase them, or even the way that PG would phrase him, or Luke. And it'd be like me and my mom would look at each other, and we'd be like, did you just hear that? Because I just heard that I just said that, and we'd laugh. But no, after coming back home to Nova Scotia, it was actually very difficult to get out of that Mimi phase, because she's such a strong person and she has such a strong personality that turning her off just like that didn't work. You had to, gradually, dim her down.
Yeah, and like you said, there's some parts of her personality that appeal to you. So there probably is a little bit of Mimi in you
Exactly.
always. You just have to recognize when you're being a little too much.
Yeah.
The other thing I really loved is I love seeing obviously your relationship in PG. That was really fun to see. But I really liked yours and your dad's. I think it was Dennis in the film. That it was such a fun little dynamic, because he would kind of like, he didn't give you special treatment, but he'd go a little easier on you than I think the mom wanted to. So it was like working with him. And were you, did you kind of act as a family outside of the cast the same way you kind of did with Luke, or was that more of like an acting relationship?
I think that my father and I, me and Greg, that's what I called him on set. His name that we called him, and when it wasn't Dad, it was Greg, and when it wasn't Mom, it was Susan or Alexis. But we would never really call each other our real names. We were a very me and my dad were a pretty close bond, and he's one of the most funniest person in real life as he is in the movie. It's crazy really to think how quickly you can bond with a person, and just never meeting these people ever in your life and feeling it like you've known each other for years. But we definitely did have a very strong bond. Not as strong as me and Owen, just because we were together all the time, every day, all day, for like 6 to 8 hours. But no, it was a very close bond cast. Even everybody on the cast and crew, we were all very close.
Definitely. One of the really interesting kind of crazy things about the film was Crazy Ball, which I guess is in the film is your game. Do you actually remember the rules to Crazy Ball? Are there rules to Crazy Ball, or did you just kind of make it up as you went? Because it was fun to see, and I still don't know how to play the game.
So that's actually a very interesting question, and you're not the first one to ask it. Everybody wants, like, that's one of the first questions people want to know, and they ask me. Even though I explained the rules a couple times in the film, I actually don't know how to play, and I don't think anybody does. I don't even think Steve does, let alone Mimi or PG or Luke. But I think that it'd be a very cool game to put on paper, and I definitely play. I definitely win. No, but it'd be a very cool game to play. It's kind of, I feel like it's like modern slash unique twist to dodgeball, but not as boring as dodgeball.
Yeah, it's a game of dodgeball you can play with two people, which is nice.
Exactly.
So I noticed on your IMDb page, you got this film. You also have a role in Books of Blood. So you're kind of developing, a nice horror resume. Is that just kind of what the roles that came to you, or is there something, do you think that maybe you'll continue to focus on horror and try to kind of build a repertoire there?
Yeah, so I'd say 98% of my auditions that I have are horror, or that I am like the villain. I get like sometimes 3 auditions in a few months that are like, hey, like, I don't swear in this, I don't kill anybody, I don't have to escape nowheres. It's actually just funny. but I actually prefer playing the villain or playing the mean, sassy little girl. I feel like it's much more interesting than just being the nice person that's always in the background. And they say that the like these type of roles are the hardest to play, but honestly, I think it's very easy, and it's my favorites to play because it's always interesting, and you never even know what you yourself, your character is gonna do, really.
I think that makes sense. I mean, the horror characters, they're characters, right? Like, I imagine a lot of the roles that are cast for kids are kind of generic kids, or things that might not be as interesting. But like you said, you get to play these villains, or these interesting people or interesting monsters, whatever it is. And so that might be just more fun for you to do. And it sounds like you really kind of like digging in there, and kind of getting
Yeah,
behind these characters. So
yeah, for sure.
so now I'd like to move. I call it the lightning round. It's just really short questions that are kind of related to the film, and I want to see like how you, Nita, are with like some of the characters or situations that happened in the film. Feel free to pass on any of them. I will not be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable. So they're just meant to be really short and fun. So, and if they're not fun, you can just tell me. Just get your Mimi face in and say, no, this is over.
Okay.
So the first one, and I think you kind of answered this already, but Mimi is very competitive. That's a given in the film. Are you also competitive, or do you have competitive aspects?
Yes, very. I'm very competitive with whatever I do, even if it's not a competition, I make it into one.
Awesome, that's good. What is the strangest thing you've dug up?
In real life,
Yeah, in real life, I guess other than things that happened in the movie, I guess in real life, or have you ever dug up anything strange? Maybe it's not
I have
something.
never dug up anything that interesting, like a magic gem that controls a monster,
Well,
other
yeah,
than
I think we would have heard of that if you had dug that up.
but no, not really. I'm not a very hands-on person, actually.
Okay. So there was a lucky bat in the film. Do you have like a lucky piece of equipment, or like a good luck piece of it couldn't be, doesn't have to be a sports equipment, but like some sort of good luck charm maybe that you have?
Yeah, so actually I have this. It's kind of not a lucky, but it's just something that I always have with me. It's my blankie. I take it almost everywhere's with me. And my mom is the same way. She's like 40 some odd years old. She still has her little blankie. I still have my little blankie. Um, that and my rings. I have a lot of rings, and they mean a lot to me. And I bring them everywhere. Obviously not on set, but definitely jewelry and my blanket.
I I don't have my blanket with me, but I know exactly where it is. So,
Yeah, exactly.
um, so maybe this might be the same answer. So, PG is kind of controlled by this special object in the film. Do you have, something that wouldn't like magically control you, but something that if someone had, they would like be able to kind of control what you did because it's so prized for you? Maybe that's your blanket?
Unfortunately, my phone.
Oh, well,
My phone.
that's a good call.
Like I still have it right next to me. It's still here. It's always close to me. If someone takes it and they want me to do something for me to get it back, I'll probably have to end up doing it or getting a new phone.
Well, I mean, you're the one doing the interview, so you got to stay on schedule. So that makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
I talked to a different actor in another movie that was set in like the wilderness, where there was no technology, and I was like, so "How was it doing that?" And she's like, "I'm a teenager and I couldn't use my phone for the entire time. How do you think it was?" Like, "Oh, yeah, that sounds difficult."
Yeah, I can imagine.
So Crazy Ball felt like it had a lot of like house rules. I mean, it was your own game, made up game. Do you have like games that you play where you have house rules, or do you have like your own house rules and games that you play with your friends?
I like to play a lot of board games, and that's a little bit more structured than
Hmm.
Crazy Ball. There's a lot of rules to follow, but I feel like whenever I play games with my little brother, he is just 7 years old. He has a very, very big imagination, and his games are a bit more interesting than Crazy Ball, to say the least. They are very complicated, and sometimes I can't even play them.
Yeah, it's good he has an imagination. That's fantastic news.
Yeah.
And so last question: do you ever talk to your siblings or your friends in like a code? You and Luke had this kind of like Morse code type thing in the film. So do you ever talk to friends or siblings in some sort of coded language, or some sort of thing that only you
Yeah,
know?
I feel like a lot of like if I had to have a secret language now, it's like my eyes. Like I can be like, look behind me, like or like, let's get out of here, like, let's go. Now that we have these masks in school, you can't even really talk to your friends unless you go ahead and learn sign language.
Yeah.
But those knocks actually that you heard in PG, they were just like, we were just knocking on the walls and
Yep.
making it seem cool. But no, I wish that I had a secret language like that with my brothers that I could communicate through the walls with.
I mean, now's the time to start developing it, right? Like you're all at home. So so the film comes out January 22nd. It comes out, I believe, in theaters and digitally. So I guess, what's next for you? Do you have any other roles on the horizon, or are you just going to kind of keep an eye out? Anything that you've got brewing?
Yeah, so I'm trying to focus a lot more on music now. I love acting, and I keep on doing auditions. Sometimes I have up to 4 a week. But I'm also starting I'm just realizing that I really like singing, and I want to start creating my own music. So hopefully I can start doing that. I had talked with a few record labels, and we got that far with everything really, then Corona hit and everything just
Yeah.
got pulled away. But hopefully, vaccines are starting to come out. Everything is great. And hopefully we can start traveling very, very soon throughout the world and getting more gigs and being able to see everybody again would be very great.
Yeah, definitely. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping that this year will be very different. But it's awesome that, yeah, a movie that you're in is now going to be out and everyone can see it. So that I'm assuming that exposure will help you in your any
Yes.
career path. And it sounds like you're a very driven actor and individual as well. So I'm sure you'll do great in anything that you try.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for talking to me. And look for Nita in PG or Psycho Goreman, which comes out January 22nd. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was Nita Hanna, who plays Mimi in Psycho Goreman, or PG. It's coming to digital and theaters on January 22nd, 2021. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot and makes sure all of my new interviews go straight to you. And as always, please go to watcherpass.com for all your movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Thank you.